We're cutting you loose. Your company card is canceled. Figure out how to get home yourself. You're done. I read that text message 3 times, standing in that Munich hotel lobby at 9:30 p.m. German time. The marble floor felt solid under my feet while everything else crumbled around me. My boss's words glowed on that phone screen like they were mocking me. Each word hit like a punch to the gut. My name is Gordon Wells. I'm 53 years old, and I'd just been fired via text message while standing 5,000 miles from home. I didn't throw the phone. I didn't curse out loud. I just stood there while German business people walked past me, dragging their luggage, living their normal Tuesday evening lives while mine fell apart. I typed back, "Understood. Thank you for letting me know." Then I sat down in one of those expensive lobby chairs and tried to figure out what the hell just happened. Let me back up and tell you how I ended up in Munich with $73 in my wallet and a text message that basically said 15 years of loyalty meant nothing. I started at Consolidated Industries right after I got out of the Army Corps of Engineers. That was 1998. I was 28, fresh from building bridges in places most people can't pronounce, and ready to use those skills in the civilian world. Consolidated made industrial equipment, heavy machinery for bridges, skyscrapers, major infrastructure projects. Real stuff that mattered. I wasn't some paper pusher. I was VP of International Procurement. I found suppliers who could deliver what our engineers needed. Specialized steel, precision components, materials that had to meet exact specifications. The job paid well enough to support my family, and more importantly, I was good at it. I could talk to suppliers worldwide and make them understand exactly what we needed. I learned enough German and Italian to get by in meetings. I remembered their families, their business challenges, their kids' names. That's how you build trust in this business. You show up, you deliver what you promise, and you treat people with respect. My wife Sarah died 8 years ago. Cancer. Since then, it's been just me and my son Jordan. He's 20 now, a sophomore studying mechanical engineering at Ohio State. Smart kid, gets it from his mother. He's on partial scholarship, but I still need to cover about $25,000 a year for tuition, room, and board. That's real money when you're 53 and trying to make sure your pension vests in 12 more years. My boss was Preston Kane, 42 years old, fresh MBA from Northwestern, and here's the kicker. He's the CEO's nephew. Got promoted to division head 2 years ago, right over me despite my experience. Preston liked reminding me that I was old school whenever I insisted on face-to-face meetings with suppliers. "You need to adapt to modern business practices, Gordon," he'd say when I wanted to fly somewhere instead of doing everything over video calls. There are more efficient ways to handle procurement. He had this way of making experience sound like obsolete. I'd nod and say, "Yes, sir." Jordan needed that college money. I needed my pension to vest, so I kept quiet and did my job the right way. Preston also had a habit of taking credit for my work. When I'd negotiate a great deal, somehow it became Preston's cost-cutting initiative. When suppliers praised our partnership, Preston would forward those emails to the CEO with his name at the top. I learned to document everything, but it didn't matter. Nepotism beats competence in corporate America. 3 months ago, Preston called me into his office. "We've got a problem," he said, not looking up from his laptop. "Our steel supplier in Germany, the one providing everything for the Morrison Bridge project, they're threatening to walk." "Why?" I asked. "How should I know? You're the one who deals with these people." Like I was some kind of translator instead of someone who understood technical specifications and had built relationships over decades. Like my 25 years of experience meant nothing. "I'll reach out," I said. Heinrich Müller ran the steel operation, family business outside Munich, been around for 60 years, 3 generations making precision steel components. Some of the finest work I'd ever seen. Strong, reliable, perfect tolerance for major construction projects. I'd worked with Heinrich for 8 years, watched his daughter Ingrid grow from college graduate to operations manager. Heinrich was frustrated when I called him. "Your company treats us like we are machines," he said in his careful English. "Last quarter, they demanded 15% price reduction with no discussion. This quarter, they want delivery in half the time. They never ask if this is possible. They just demand." I could hear the exhaustion in his voice. This was a man who took pride in his work, whose family had built their reputation on quality and reliability. Preston's approach was destroying that. "I understand," I told him. "Let me work something out." I spent 2 weeks putting together a comprehensive proposal. Better payment terms, realistic delivery schedules, guaranteed minimum orders so Heinrich could plan ahead and invest in equipment upgrades. Things that made sense for both sides. A real partnership instead of Preston's extraction model. Preston barely looked at it. "Just go there," he said. "Go to Germany and fix this mess. Make them happy. That's what we pay you for." "When?" "Next week. 6 weeks. However long it takes. 6 weeks. Jordan had baseball games I'd promised to attend, parent visits at college, all the stuff you try not to miss when you're raising a 20-year-old who still needs guidance, even if he pretends he doesn't. "My son," I started. "Your son has family. Figure it out, Gordon. This is an $8 million contract. Don't screw it up." The message was clear. My role as a father came second to corporate needs. Just like my age and experience came second to Preston's MBA and family connections. Jordan took the news better than I expected. At 20, he understood that work pays for college, even if he didn't like it. "I'll be fine, Dad," he said when I told him. "Aunt Claire can check on me if you need her to. My sister lives about 20 minutes from campus. Just don't let them push you around over there." Smart kid. He could already see what I was trying to ignore. "I'll be back before spring break," I promised. I had no idea how wrong I'd be. I arrived in Munich on a Tuesday morning. Clean city, organized, efficient. Everything you'd expect from Germany. Took a taxi to the business hotel Preston's assistant had arranged. Nothing fancy, but professional enough. The kind of place where traveling salespeople stay when their companies care more about budgets than comfort. I met Heinrich the next day at his facility outside the city. 45-minute train ride through German countryside that reminded me why I'd fallen in love with this work in the first place. Real places. Real people making real things, not corporate boardrooms where PowerPoint presentations matter more than actual results. Muller Precision Steel looked exactly like what it was, a family business that had been around for 60 years. The building was older but immaculately maintained. Inside, workers cut and shaped steel with precision machinery that hummed with the sound of serious manufacturing. That sharp metallic smell of productivity hung in the air. Heinrich was 61 now, gray hair and hands that showed decades of real work. When he shook my hand, I could feel the calluses. This wasn't a man who'd gotten soft behind a desk. His daughter Ingrid handled the administrative side of the business. She was maybe 35, sharp as her father but with an MBA from a German university. The perfect bridge between old-school craftsmanship and modern business practices. She brought coffee and actual German pretzels while we talked. "Tell me what you need," Heinrich said in his careful English. We'd been working together for 8 years, but he always started our meetings this way, like each conversation was a fresh start. "I need you to keep working with us," I said. "But first, I need you to tell me what's not working." We talked for hours that first day, not just about specifications and schedules, but about respect. That word kept coming up in different languages. Heinrich would say it in German, respect. And Ingrid would nod like she was translating something deeper than vocabulary. "Your boss," Heinrich said carefully, "he speaks to us like we are incompetent children. Like our 60 years of experience means nothing. Last month, he joined our video call and made jokes about German efficiency while we were discussing serious technical problems. I remembered that call. Preston had been showing off for someone in his office, treating the video screen like it was a TV show instead of a business meeting with people who deserved better. "I know," I said. "He speaks to me the same way." Ingrid looked at me with understanding in her eyes. "Then why do you stay?" "Son's college fund," I said simply. She nodded. She got it. Family obligations don't care about your dignity. Over the next 5 weeks, I built something real with Heinrich's family. Not just business, actual partnership. We negotiated terms that worked for everyone. I explained what our engineers actually needed, why certain specifications mattered, how their steel would be used in projects that would stand for 100 years. Heinrich explained what his equipment could produce, what lead times were realistic, how his workers took pride in meeting exact tolerances. We found solutions to problems Preston didn't even know existed, delivery schedules that matched Heinrich's production capacity, quality standards that made sense for both sides, payment terms that didn't put cash flow pressure on a family business that had weathered 3 generations of economic ups and downs. Heinrich insisted on something unusual in the final contract language. "I want you to be our contact," he said during our 4th week. "Not your boss, not anyone else, you." "I'm not in charge of the whole relationship," I told him. "I'm just the VP. Preston makes the final decisions." "Then we make you in charge of this arrangement," Heinrich said firmly. "Every specification change goes through you. Every modification needs your approval. Otherwise, we don't work with Consolidated Industries." I didn't understand what he was really doing at the time. Later, I realized Heinrich saw what I was missing. He knew Preston was taking credit for my work, and he wanted to protect what we were building together. The contract language made me the essential person, not just a contact, but the legally required liaison for the entire partnership. Back home, Preston messaged me constantly. "Where are we on this? When's it getting signed? What's taking so long?" I'd explained that building trust takes time, that Heinrich's family needed to feel heard and respected. Preston would respond with things like, "I don't need explanations, I need results," or "This should have been wrapped up weeks ago." He had no idea what was actually happening in those meetings. No understanding that Heinrich was teaching me about German business culture, that Ingrid was sharing insights about European markets, that I was learning things about international procurement that you can't get from an MBA program. During my 5th week, Jordan called me one evening. I was sitting in a small restaurant near my hotel, eating schnitzel and trying to decompress from another long day of negotiations. "Dad," he said, "I miss you, but I'm proud of what you're doing over there." "What do you mean?" "Aunt Claire told me about the project, about how you're the only one who can make this work. She says the company would be lost without you." My sister had always been supportive, but hearing those words from my son meant everything. Here was a 20-year-old engineering student who understood something that my 42-year-old boss couldn't see. "I'll be home soon," I promised. "Just a few more days to finalize everything." "Take the time you need," Jordan said. "These people sound like they really respect you." He was right. Heinrich and Ingrid treated me like an expert, not an employee. They asked for my opinions and actually listened to the answers. When I suggested modifications to their production schedule, they took notes. When I explained our engineering requirements, they asked intelligent questions instead of just nodding and moving on. It was the kind of professional relationship I'd forgotten was possible. After years of Preston treating my experience like an inconvenience, working with people who valued expertise felt revolutionary. Heinrich's family also taught me things about running a business that you don't learn in corporate America. They talked about reputation as something built over generations, not quarterly profits. About how treating suppliers well creates loyalty that can't be bought. About difference between being efficient and being cheap. In Germany, Ingrid explained one afternoon, we have a saying, "Wer billig kauft, kauft zweimal." Who buys cheap buys twice. Your boss thinks he is saving money with his approach, but he is actually costing more in the long run. By the end of my 6th week, everything was ready. Complete agreement on terms that made sense for everyone. Partnership worth $8 million over 18 months, with enough high-quality steel for the Morrison Bridge project and 2 more major builds after that. Heinrich's family would benefit from steady, well-paid work. Our company would get materials that would last decades. The signing ceremony was scheduled for Thursday morning. Heinrich wanted it done properly with his whole family present. He treated the contract like it mattered, like it was the beginning of something important instead of just another transaction. I was proud of what we'd built together. For the first time in years, I'd done something that felt genuinely meaningful. Something that would outlast corporate politics and MBA buzzwords. That Wednesday evening, I was in my hotel room double-checking everything one last time for the next day's ceremony. 6 weeks of work was about to pay off for everyone involved. That's when my phone buzzed with Preston's text message. "We're cutting you loose. Your company card is canceled. Figure out how to get home yourself. You're done." I stopped breathing. Read it again, then again. No explanation, no warning, just those words glowing on my screen like they were designed to hurt as much as possible. I checked my corporate card online. He wasn't lying. Canceled. I had $73 in my wallet and whatever loose euros were scattered around my hotel room. My return flight was booked through company travel, probably canceled too. I was stranded in Germany, 5,000 miles from home. After 6 weeks of work, after missing Jordan's spring break, after eating budget meals to save company money, after building something that would save their biggest project, Preston had sent me a text message saying I was done. I typed back, "Understood. Thank you for letting me know." I didn't know what else to say. My hands were shaking now, but my voice in my head was strangely calm. I sat in that hotel lobby for maybe an hour, watching German business people walk past, living their normal Wednesday evening lives while mine fell apart. I kept thinking about Jordan, about how I'd explain this, about how I'd pay for his remaining 2 years of college, about what I'd tell my sister Claire when she asked how the trip went. Then something clicked in my brain. Not anger exactly. Something colder, more focused. I looked at my briefcase. Inside was the unsigned contract, the one worth $8 million, the one that would save Consolidated's biggest project, the one Heinrich had insisted could only be signed with me as the designated contact person. The contract wasn't just about me being a liaison, it was legally binding language that made me the required intermediary for the entire partnership. Every specification change, every modification, every communication had to go through me personally. Without me, there was no deal. Preston had just fired the only person who could make his signature project work. I stood up, walked out of that hotel, found the train station, and rode back to Heinrich's facility one last time. I needed to think this through, but I also needed to be around people who treated me with respect. It was dark by the time I reached the workshop, but lights were still on. Heinrich and Ingrid were inside, finishing paperwork for tomorrow's signing ceremony. They looked up when I walked in, and I could see immediately that something was wrong with my expression. "Gordon," Heinrich said, standing up quickly. "What happened?" "They fired me," I said. The words came out flat and emotionless. "My boss sent a text message this evening. Said they're cutting me loose, canceled my company card, told me to find my own way home." Ingrid put her hand over her mouth. Heinrich's face went hard in a way I'd never seen before. "After everything," he said quietly. "After 6 weeks of work, after you built this partnership. Yes. Where are you staying tonight?" "The hotel. I have cash for maybe 2 more nights. Then I'll figure something out." Heinrich and Ingrid exchanged one of those family looks where an entire conversation happens without words. Then Heinrich turned back to me with something that looked like determination. "The signing tomorrow," he said. "What do you want to do?" That's when I realized something important. Heinrich wasn't asking if the signing would still happen. He was asking what I wanted to happen. Like my opinion mattered more than corporate protocol. "What do you mean?" I asked. "This contract," he said, gesturing to the papers on his desk. "It's written with your name as the required contact person. You must approve every specification. Change. Consolidated must deal with you personally to get our steel. That's what we negotiated. But I don't work there anymore." "Exactly," Heinrich said with a smile that wasn't entirely friendly. "So why would I sign with them?" The weight of it hit me slowly. Heinrich had seen this coming somehow. All those weeks of insisting that I be the designated contact, all that contract language about personal approval, he'd been protecting what we were building from exactly this kind of corporate backstabbing. "They'll send someone else," I said. "They'll try to renegotiate." "Let them try," Heinrich said. "I won't speak to them. My family won't speak to them. We built this relationship with you, not with that man who shows no respect for people." I thought about Preston's behavior during that video call, how he'd treated Heinrich like a vendor instead of a partner, how he'd dismissed decades of expertise with MBA catchphrases and corporate buzzwords. "What about that other company?" I asked. "The one that contacted you last month?" Heinrich's smile got sharper. "Titan Industries. Yes, they've been calling us for almost a year now. Better prices, better terms, better respect. We always said no because we had an understanding with Consolidated." He paused. "But Consolidated just broke that understanding. You'd really walk away from $8 million? "The money isn't walking away," Ingrid said quietly. "It's just walking to someone else, someone who treats people properly." I felt something shift inside me, something that had been tight for years, slowly loosening. For the first time since I'd read Preston's text, I could breathe normally. "There's something else," Heinrich said. "Titan Industries asked us last month if we knew anyone who could coordinate their international procurement, someone who understands specifications and suppliers, someone with connections and experience." He meant me. "I can't," I said automatically. "I need to get home. I need to find another job. I need stable work, not risks. You need to stop letting people treat you like you're disposable," Heinrich said firmly. This man throws you away like garbage after you built something valuable, and you want to rush home and find another person who will do the same thing. I have a son. I need to provide for him. This isn't a risk, Ingrid said. This is you taking what you've earned. You built this relationship. You did the work. You have the expertise. Why should they benefit from it when they don't value you? I looked at that unsigned contract sitting on Heinrich's desk. 6 weeks of my life. 6 weeks away from Jordan. All those conversations, all those negotiations, all that trust I'd built with handshakes and shared meals and mutual respect. And Preston had called me done in a text message. What would I need to do? I asked quietly. Heinrich's expression softened. Tonight, nothing. Stay here. We have a guest room upstairs. Tomorrow morning I'll call Titan Industries. I'll tell them Consolidated is no longer an option, and I'll introduce them to you. And then I'll call your old boss and tell him there will be no signing. I stayed in their guest room that night, small and clean, with a bed that felt like luxury compared to the business hotel. Ingrid brought me soup and dark German bread, sat with me while I ate. My grandfather used to say something, she told me. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. Your boss showed you who he is tonight. Don't give him a second chance to prove it again. I thought about that all night, about all the times Preston had shown me exactly who he was. The credit stealing, the dismissive comments, the way he treated my experience like an inconvenience. How I'd ignored it because I needed the job, because I was scared, because I thought I didn't have choices. The next morning, Heinrich made his calls. First, he called someone at Titan Industries. I could only hear his side of the conversation. Yes, this is Heinrich from Muller Precision Steel. We spoke last month about a partnership possibility. Is that still something you're interested in? Good. I have someone you should meet. He's excellent. He's the reason Consolidated wanted to work with us. Now he's available. Then he looked at me and held up his phone. Are you ready? I nodded. Heinrich dialed Preston's number and put the phone on speaker. I sat there with my hands steady on the table, but my pulse was racing like I was back in the army about to breach a door. Preston answered on the second ring. Heinrich, finally. I've been trying to reach you all morning. Are we all set for this signing? I need this wrapped up today. No, Heinrich said calmly. We're not all set. Silence on the other end. What do you mean? Preston's voice got harder, more corporate. I mean there will be no signing, no agreement. Muller Precision Steel will not be working with Consolidated Industries. Is this about money? Out. Because we can negotiate. I have authorization to— This is about respect, Heinrich interrupted. Something you clearly don't understand. Now wait a minute. I don't know what Gordon told you, but— He told me you fired him, Heinrich said, his voice getting steel in it. After he spent 6 weeks here building something good, after he worked harder than anyone I've seen, you threw him away like he means nothing to you. That's an internal company matter, Preston said. His voice was tight now, controlled. It has nothing to do with our business arrangement. It has everything to do with it, Heinrich said. Gordon was our arrangement. We negotiated with him. We trust him. We don't trust you. I could hear Preston's breathing change on the other end of the line. So there is no arrangement, Heinrich continued. And now I'm going to work with Titan Industries instead. You can't do this. We have a verbal agreement. We have nothing, Heinrich said simply. Goodbye. Preston was still talking when Heinrich hung up the phone. I just stared at Heinrich. My pulse was hammering in my ears, but for the first time in 6 weeks I felt like I could breathe properly. Did you just— I started. Yes, Heinrich said calmly. I did. Now let's talk about your new job. Titan Industries wanted to meet me that same afternoon. Heinrich arranged everything. They sent a car, an actual car with a driver. After 6 weeks of taking trains and buses to save company money, it felt like stepping into a different world. The Titan headquarters was in a better part of Munich. Newer building, professional atmosphere, but somehow warmer than Consolidated's sterile offices back home. I felt underdressed, walking in there wearing the same rotation of clothes I'd been living in for weeks. The person who met me was Diana Foster, maybe 45, sharp business suit, direct manner but with genuine warmth in her eyes. Heinrich speaks very highly of you, she said after we shook hands. Tell me about yourself. I told her the truth, not some corporate version designed to impress, the real version. About Jordan, about working at Consolidated for 15 years, about building relationships with suppliers because I actually cared about quality work, about being stranded yesterday evening and somehow being here today. And yet here you are, Diana said, not on a plane home running back to what's familiar. Why? Because Heinrich made me realize something, I said. I'm good at what I do. Really good. And I'm tired of people who can't see that. Diana smiled. It was the first time in months someone in corporate management had looked at me like I was valuable instead of expensive. Heinrich says you negotiated an $8 million agreement in 6 weeks. Is that accurate? Yes. Can you do that again for us? Build those kinds of relationships with suppliers who trust you personally? Yes, I said. And I meant it. Then let's talk about what you need. Salary, travel arrangements, flexible schedule because you have a son. All of it. Tell me what would make this work for you. No one had ever asked me that before, what I needed. What would make things work for me instead of just work for the company. I told her about needing to be home regularly for Jordan's last 2 years of college, about wanting fair compensation for my 25 years of experience, about needing respect and trust, about wanting to build something that would last beyond quarterly earnings reports. Done, Diana said without hesitation. All of it. Senior Director of International Procurement to start, with clear advancement path. 40% increase from your current salary, plus performance bonuses tied to successful partnerships. Travel budget that lets you do the job right. When can you start? I need to get home first. See my son. Explain what happened. We'll arrange your flight home today if you want. First class. When you're ready to return, we'll cover everything. Apartment near the city center, rental car, whatever you need to be. Effective. I left that meeting knowing my life had just changed completely. Not just the job, the way I thought about my own worth. My phone started ringing before I even got back to Heinrich's facility. Preston, over and over. I didn't answer. Then he started texting. What did you tell Heinrich? You sabotaged us. This is corporate espionage. You'll hear from our lawyers. You're destroying the company. I deleted each message without reading them fully. Then he tried a different approach. Gordon, please, let's talk about this like adults. Maybe I was hasty yesterday. We can work something out. Come back and we'll discuss a promotion. Better terms. I blocked his number. The flight home was the longest 12 hours of my life, but for good reasons this time. I kept thinking about Jordan, about explaining why I'd been gone so long, about telling him that everything was going to be different now. Claire picked me up from the airport. One look at my face, and she knew something had changed. What happened over there? She asked as we drove. I told her everything. She kept glancing at me like she was checking if I was really her brother or some confident replacement. So you just walked away from them, and now you have a better job with more money? I didn't walk away, I said. They threw me away. I just made sure they couldn't benefit from the pieces. Jordan was studying in his dorm room when I got there. He looked up when I walked in and his face lit up like it used to when he was little and I'd come home from business trips. Dad! He stood up and hugged me. At 20, he was almost as tall as me now, but still my kid. You're home early, he said. How did everything go? I sat down and told him the whole story. About getting fired, about Heinrich, about the new job, about how his college costs would never be a worry again. His expression went from confused to angry to proud. So they just threw you away after 15 years, he asked. Yes, and now their big project is screwed completely. Good, he said with that certainty that only a 20-year-old can have. They deserved it. That was 18 months ago. Today, Jordan is a senior with a 3.8 GPA and 3 internship offers from engineering firms that specifically want him because they know about his father's reputation in international procurement. He'll graduate debt-free with money in the bank for graduate school if he wants it. I've built Titan Industries into a major player in European industrial partnerships. We've secured contracts worth $47 million in the past year alone, working with suppliers across Germany, Italy, and now expanding into Scandinavia. Industry Today magazine featured our partnership model in their October cover story as the future of international procurement. Heinrich and I signed an exclusive 5-year agreement that makes Titan the sole North American distributor for Muller Precision Steel. His business has grown 60%, and Ingrid just opened a second facility outside Berlin. When I visited last month for the facility opening, Heinrich pulled me aside. You know what you did for us? He asked. I just did my job, I said. No, he said firmly. You showed us that American business doesn't have to be about exploitation, that partnerships can be about mutual respect. My daughter talks about expanding to the US market because of what you built here. Meanwhile, Consolidated Industries limped along for about 8 months before being sold off in pieces. Without Heinrich's steel, they couldn't complete the Morrison Bridge project. The delays cost them $12 million in penalties and lost 3 other major contracts. Preston was demoted to regional manager, then laid off entirely when his division was dissolved. I heard through industry contacts that he tried to find work at other major firms, but word travels fast in procurement. When potential employers called references, they heard about the partnership he'd destroyed, the experienced VP he'd fired overseas, the $8 million contract he'd lost through arrogance. Last I heard, he was working at a small regional firm making about half his old salary. Turns out nepotism only protects you as long as you're delivering results. I don't celebrate his failure. I don't feel vindictive about it. I just feel relieved that I got out, that I found people who understand the value of experience and relationships, that I built something real and lasting. 3 months ago, Diana promoted me to VP of Global Partnerships with equity options that will make me financially secure long before I plan to retire. Jordan jokes that his old man is finally living up to his potential. "You know what the best part is, Dad?" he told me during our last phone call. "You proved that doing the right thing actually works. That treating people with respect isn't just nice, it's smart business." He's right. Heinrich taught me that when someone throws you away, you don't climb back into their trash bin. You walk away and build something better with people who see your worth. Sometimes you have to lose everything to discover what you're really worth. And sometimes the people who betray you are doing you the biggest favor of your life. They're forcing you to find out how much better you can do when you stop accepting less than you deserve. At 54, I've learned that loyalty is earned, not demanded. That experience has value that can't be replaced by cheaper alternatives. That real partnerships are built on respect, not power. And most importantly, that standing up for yourself when everyone else wants you to accept less isn't just the right thing to do. It's the most important lesson you can pass on to the next generation. Jordan starts his senior year next month. He's already talking about following my path into international business, but with one key difference: he'll never settle for working with people who don't respect what he brings to the table. That might be the best legacy I can leave him. Your worth isn't determined by who fires you. It's proven by who fights to hire you. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you becomes the best thing, but only if you have the courage to walk through the door it opens.